This is your like time machine to the future. This will be your daughter one day. If you don't teach her consequences of her actions or a lack of her actions, she will grow up into being a woman who lacks willpower. You see why this is so important? You see how if you don't catch it as soon as possible with your kids are going to end up this way, lacking self-motivation, lacking self-respect, lacking any like self-directed willpower and in a healthy way without again then pushing it to the other extreme, which is like hyperachieving and constantly doing because then you never feel good enough if you slow down and rest. This is why we are doing this work, and that's why it's so important for you to pay attention if you have been the controlling mom yourself. But then, another example, next to the police mom, there's also the pleaser mom. And that's another type of clients that we are working with in the program, and I bet you're one of them. You're either the police or you're the pleaser. Hi, and welcome to the Zen Supermom podcast. The episode today is for all police moms. And no, I'm not talking about your professional job. I'm talking about moms who are constantly policing their children, who are always there reminding, checking time, pushing, because otherwise the kids are doing nothing and you are exhausted. And moreover, it's not even working because their kids are growing up and like not able to do anything, no cooperation, no respect, no help. How to get out of that trap? Let's talk about it. Hi, Supermom or Superdad. Alena here, your mommy tantrum specialist and the founder of the Zen Supermom system. And me and my team have helped hundreds of moms and dads start setting healthy boundaries with calm. And this is the first parenting podcast that is not about your kids, that shows you why none of the parenting techniques helped you stop yelling at your kids and how to control your emotions from jumping out so that you can be the safe, loving parent you wish you had growing up. This is the Zen Supermom podcast. Hi, I'm Elena, the mommy tantrum specialist and the founder of the Zen Supermom system, where me and my team, we help busy, loving, but yelling moms set healthy boundaries with their kids with calm. And the episode today that is meant for police moms is inspired by our group call that we had with the clients inside the program. Because it was so rich, so fantastic. And one of them sent me an email this morning saying like, oh my goodness, like, can you make a podcast episode about the police moms? Because this is exactly like, I think more people need to know about that. And I was replying back to her saying, you read my mind. Because as I was putting down the notes for that call, for those who are watching replays, I always put down notes, like what were the topics that I was coaching the women on. And I had so much fun putting it down, like, police mom versus the calm mom with the healthy boundaries. Like, where is the line? Where is the balance? Where is the balance between being the controller, perfectionist mom who always needs to be at the back of everybody, like the kids and the husband, often even like trying to push them to do things and constant reminders, and you're the one who's always checking time to make sure they're not late. And the more you do that with great intentions, I'm saying all of that with lots of compassion, right? But the more you do that, the more you start noticing it's not only not working, but they are becoming more and more lazy. They are relying on you more and more. They are then even getting angry when you stop helping them so much. They are blaming you for not doing enough, that whatever failure or mistake they experience, there's like, it's your fault, mom, because you should have told me or you should have done that for me. And you're like, where the heck is this coming from? And where are we headed if we continue in this direction? So this is one extreme. I call it police mom. Call it whatever you want. And I apologize to all professional police women. There's nothing like... No offense, okay? I love you. This is one extreme. On the other side, there's the other extreme when there is no follow-up, no boundaries, total chaos, absent parents, no rules. Like the kids are growing up basically raising themselves because they have no idea, like the parents are checked out. Okay, this is the other extreme. None of those is healthy for the kids. What kids need is healthy boundaries. They need to learn their rules. And those rules are there not because the parents are like authoritarian, traditional, like you obeyed the first time I asked you just because I said so, I'm your mother or father. No. The rules are there as just as there are rules in the universe, like the rules of the law of gravity. If you jump out of the table with your head first, you're going to break your head and your neck and people need to go to the hospital. Like, this is the law of gravity. The law of dirty laundry. You leave your dirty clothes on the bathroom floor, then the law is if the laundry is not in the dirty laundry basket, it's not going to get washed. You will not have clean clothes to go to put on in the morning, tomorrow, the day after, and you will need to wear again the dirty, smelly, stinky stuff. Natural consequences, your decision, my dear. Where is that we draw the line between being like using boundaries as a punishment? Because that's what sometimes the kids try to negotiate, right? Like, why are you being so mean? Why can't you do that for me? Like, how do you not let your kids manipulate you by thinking that rules are a punishment? And where do you find that right balance? Okay, so I'm going to use some examples because this was, I really loved the call yesterday and I wanted to do this podcast episode while it's still fresh in my mind. So the first mom who came on the call, so beautiful. She was saying, well, I need help because I'm lacking like a willpower and motivation to do anything. Because I'm busy, but I could make time for myself. So not only she felt guilty for like selfish for taking time on her own. So, okay, that's one part of it. But the second part and the key, what she wanted help with is I can't get myself to follow through and do things for myself that I know are good for me. Like a regular yoga practice in the morning before everybody wakes up, sticking up with my diet, like eating healthy and clean, because I know that the junk and rushing through and then overeating at night because like to fill in my emotional void and calm down my emotions, all of that emotional eating, that's not working for me either. How do I motivate myself? And we worked through that. And then at the end, I just brought it to her attention, just like, by the way, this is the result of most likely, and I was just making a guess. Let me know if I'm completely off or not. But if you're struggling with motivating yourself, if you're struggling with carrying the natural consequences for yourself, like what is the consequence if I don't follow through on my healthy routines? If you can't do that, and if you've been always falling into this same trap of procrastination and avoiding and postponing, then my bet is that you had parents like this, either police or absent and chaos. This is the result. So if ever you needed any extra motivation to stop being a police mom, this is your motivation, because this is your like time machine to the future. This will be your daughter one day. If you don't teach her what are the natural laws, what are the natural boundaries, what are the natural consequences of her actions or a lack of her actions, she will grow up into being a woman who lacks willpower, who gets overwhelmed when there's too much to do, and who cannot find the priorities and realize, not just with her logical brain, what is the best thing to do and why I want to stick to this healthy routine. She will feel it in her body. It will no longer be just like a logical push. And then your body sabotages you by wanting to sleep longer, by wanting to eat a piece of chocolate. Your body will be on board as well, because your body will remember how to self-regulate myself, how to calm down that inner child that wants to sleep in or wants to eat the chocolate now, not after I lose the 10 pounds. Yeah. You see why this is so important? You see how if you don't catch it as soon as possible with your kids are going to end up this way, lacking self-motivation, lacking self-respect, lacking any like self-directed willpower, and in a healthy way, without again then pushing it to the other extreme, which is like hyperachieving and constantly doing, because then you never feel good enough if you slow down and rest. This is why we are doing this work, and that's why it's so important for you to pay attention if you have been the controlling mom yourself. Okay? So this is how the story started on the group call last night. So this was one mom who was basically a living example of what happens if you do not set healthy boundaries with your kids, if you don't teach them that. But then another example, next to the police mom, there's also the pleaser mom. And that's another type of clients that we are working with in the program. And I bet you're one of them. You're either the police or you're the pleaser, right? Those are two extremes leading to exact same results. That's why I want to talk about the pleaser here as well, because it creates exactly the same kind of problem for your kids going forward. So let me know if that's you. The pleaser mom is the one who grew up being a good girl. Again, going back to your childhood trauma. Your parents punished you if you were not being the nice girl who's always smiling, always okay, always happy, always doing things before they even ask, tiptoeing on eggshells around them just not to make them mad because that didn't feel safe, that didn't feel nice. So you were conditioned to believe that if you ever want to get any breadcrumbs of love, you need to take care of everything and everybody selflessly, like Mother Teresa. You are never allowed to say no, because then people would get mad at you. And this is like the biggest fear of your life, that people would get mad, they wouldn't like you, and they would push you away and you would end up being alone. Am I right or am I right? Does that ring a bell? This is a pleaser trauma. This is your childhood pain of never being unconditionally loved. You were never allowed to be fully whole yourself, because kids are not just born happy and like always smiling, but they do have emotions. Naturally, all of us have emotions. Sometimes we want to be angry, sometimes we want to be sad. If your parents were pointing out like not okay to be angry, not okay to be sad and cry, like just continue, I'll give you a reason to cry. If that's what your parents were doing to you, you basically cut off a part of yourself. You stopped being your authentic self. You just nurtured that, okay, I need to be a good girl. And now I need to keep taking care of everybody and everything around me just so that I'm liked. That's your childhood trauma. And based on that, you develop this pleaser coping mechanism. Just to make sure, because this pain was so deep, not feeling heard, not feeling understood the way you were born, so that you would stop feeling this pain, you develop this coping mechanism, trauma coping mechanism, autopilot. New identity. You developed and adopted this pleaser identity. So this is who I am from now on, to make sure I never have to feel this pain again that I felt as a kid when I was not accepted by my parents. To make sure it never happens again, I'm going to be like the super loving, super caring, doing everything just so that everybody loves me. Because this is the safest way how to survive and how to be loved and how to feel finally like, I'm okay, I'm safe, I'm going to make it, I think. Yeah. Pleaser trauma and pleaser coping mechanism. Okay. And how that's killing your relationship with your kids? How is that making you burn out? You tell me, you know, right? You're burning out. You're becoming resentful because you're just giving, nurturing, doing, and just like giving all of that love and energy and care away. And there's not enough coming back. And you're like, well, this is not fair. Like, didn't you get the memo that you should be a people pleaser as well? That you should be bloody grateful at least? And you should say thank you and you should have some respect for how much I'm doing for you? Did it ever happen to you in other relationships, like with friends? That you're always the one who's doing and who's offering and who's inviting, and then you get kind of like mad at them? Like, why don't you do that back? Is maybe something similar going on in your romantic relationships with your partner, husband, ex? Was it that you just took breadcrumbs? They just gave you breadcrumbs of attention and like glimpses of love here and there. And in return, you're just like over dumping all of that love just so that you can get again some breadcrumbs back. But it's not really a balanced way. Watch out if that's happening, because your kids are learning from you. Okay. And what happens then is usually, again, one of the two extremes. Either your daughter will become again people pleaser exactly as you are, which like that's what I got from my mom. Like I grew up being a people pleaser too. Or, and I don't want to judge which one is worse. They're equally damaging, both of them. But then like the more violent scenario is that you raise a narcissist. And I've had that also in our group. There are moms who have kids who are already teenagers. I can start helping them. We can do some work. But if they're already teenagers, I can tell you, it's already so much more difficult. The sooner you come and get the help, the sooner, like the faster results you will get. Please do not wait until they are teenagers, because then at that age, the other extreme, so either they are good girls or then they are narcissist manipulators. They know exactly which buttons they should push so that you still keep being like that trained animal in the circus. They can make you do exactly what they want. Because the moment they make you feel like you're a terrible mom and you should be doing this for me, you don't love me, and it's like, I wish I had another mom. The moment they start pushing your emotional buttons and triggering your childhood trauma again of not being loved enough, and they threaten you with taking their love away from you, you will keep jumping through all those loops and you will keep enabling that little manipulative narcissist, and you're setting them up for problems later on in life, right? We do not want to send kids to the world being this way, not understanding their boundaries, their consequences, and you, my dear child, have some responsibilities to take care of. This is your life. Makes sense? That's why it's so important. So I was doing like this introduction just so that we get on the same page, where it's coming from. What are the consequences of not doing this work? So now, how do we do this work? What is it that needs to happen? I already gave you the keys. And by the way, it's the same as in every other podcast episode. What I found out, you need two things. Always. Heal the childhood trauma that's at the root of it. And then heal the trauma coping mechanism that you developed. Like, this is me, that's my identity, I'm the pleaser, I'm the good girl. Like, no, that's a trauma mechanism. Or like, me, I'm the police mom because I need to keep everybody pushing, otherwise it would fall apart without me. So the police mom, by the way, that's a controller trauma, yeah? Like the need to feel in control and control everybody and control their lives so that there's no chaos. Did you grow up being the good girl? Always pushed by your parents to be nice, be in a great mood, always say yes, do things so well even before they ask you, never allowed to have any bad mood, never allowed to say no, and never feeling quite good enough unless you overachieved, people pleased everybody, took care of everybody else and put yourself last. If that was your case, I would also dare to assume that it's now really difficult for you to love your kids unconditionally, because you feel even jealous sometimes. How can I give unconditional love to somebody if they don't have to work to deserve it? Because that's how you always felt about yourself, right? People need to deserve being worthy of love and feeling good enough. So if you would love to stop giving that generational trauma to your children, the trauma and pain of never ever feeling quite good enough and having to deserve and work for love, then join me in the 31-day unconditional self-love practice that I prepared exactly for moms like you, because you want to do better for your kids. So let me be your guide. There's a registration link that you can use, and I'm going to see you inside. Controller pleaser trauma. Heal the root of it, which is still your pain that you feel. There's a little girl inside of you who never felt enough. It doesn't matter which one you have, the controller or the pleaser. There's a girl inside of you who feels, I have to be one of these. Otherwise, people are not going to love me, things are going to fall apart, and it's not safe, and it's just like I'm going to die alone. Miserable. That's the fear. That fear needs to get healed because it's not true. Trauma healing, childhood developmental trauma healing. It's the first key you need. The second key you need is to start rewriting those trauma mechanisms, trauma coping mechanisms, aka the pleaser and the controller. So that finally, then you will be able to set healthy boundaries and find where is the line. Okay. Let's start with the pleaser, because this is then we had also a discussion in our Facebook group with the clients who were asking me like, okay, I've been a pleaser all of my life because that's how my parents raised me. How do I find the boundary? Because I still love my kids. Like, I don't want to just leave them alone and now you're on your own. But where is that boundary? What do I do when they give me those puppy eyes and like, and they say, oh, mommy, you don't love me anymore. Now you don't want to do the things for me. How do I deal with that? So whenever you need to feel, whether it's what you're trying to do is a healthy boundary or whether it's your pleaser, you ask yourself the question, would I still do it? Would I still help them? Even if there was nothing coming back, even if they were not saying thank you, even if nobody knew I did it, nobody saw it, would I still do it? If the answer is no, then it's your pleaser. And this is what all of those trauma mechanisms are doing. They are stealing your strengths. They are abusing your strength. Empathy, nurturing, those are your strengths. Like, keep being that. Keep being the empath. Keep being the nurturer, the caregiver. Keep that, please, do. Like, we need more of those in this world. Just don't let your trauma abuse it so that you don't take it too far. You see, whenever you feel then resentful, like, oh my goodness, I said yes because I felt bad not to say no. Trauma flag, stop. Stop before you say anything. Pause and check in. Is this my trauma or is this like, This is how we set healthy boundaries. This is how you know why. And the sooner you start with your kids, setting up some rules and ideally co-creating the rules, not just imposing because I said so and you will be doing it now, but talk to them in an age-appropriate way, of course. But since they are very little, empower them to take care of themselves and to start feeling like a team player. Not like you're a little puppet, you have no idea what you're talking about, so just do it because I said that and I don't have time to explain, just do it now. Yeah, or doing things for them because like, yeah, you're too little, you would break it and you would smash it and it would take me then even more time to clean up. Like, no. If they want to help you, I was using the example of my daughter on the call as well. Since she was 1 year old, 2 years old, since she could basically walk and use her hands at the same time because she didn't have to hold the furniture around, she wanted to help me. She wanted to be like, I'm like a big girl feeling like she's big. So I gave her a little sponge. We got little like things to sweep the floor whenever she was eating and breadcrumbs everywhere. So then she had her place that she could reach. She, by the way, I'm still looking at it. She still has it until today. She's already so much bigger. We could have put it higher, but she still has her little station with her little plates, little cups. There's a green thing like to sweep the floor. There's a little orange sponge to wash because then she had her steps so that she could go and reach the water to squeeze it and put some water. There are little colorful cloths so that when she was eating and she spilled or messed up, she knew how to go clean it and then throw the thing in the open washing machine. At that age, they think like, this is a fantastic game I can play. So sometimes there is even more mess, yeah, because if there's spaghetti sauce and then she took her sponge and then just did this, so of course the spaghetti sauce, it was even worse, right? But she felt empowered. She took the responsibility, like, this is my place, I need to clean it up, and mommy helped me because it's even bigger mess, so then of course mommy came and cleaned it up better. But since that moment, she learned how to take responsibility for her thing and she was proud of it. It was not a chore. It was not a punishment. It was not like a boring thing I'm trying to postpone. It's just like, that's not the law as me being the policewoman trying to reinforce the law. But that's the natural way how we do things. That's how mommy does it when she messes up her table. That's how I do it because I'm big. I can take care of myself. Yeah. So whenever you're trying to create new boundaries for your kids, the older they are, the more pushback you will get. Just like natural. Like, get ready for it. The younger they are, the easier it will be to explain that and co-create those rules or like the natural ways of how we do things in this home. Yeah. So check in with them. Where is it that, and in what way can you make them feel like this is the good news? You're taking care of yourself. You're a big kid now. You're doing exactly as I am doing for me, as daddy is doing for him. You will be now doing for yourself. How amazing is that? And then natural consequences if they do not follow up. Well, then if you don't clean your plate here, or like your table where you eat, then the next time you go and sit to eat, it's going to be quite disgusting. But you want that? Like, be my guest. You do not clean that up after them. If that was your agreement, that this is now their responsibility, you do not go clean up after them. You don't. Even if they do puppy eyes, even if they say, you're a terrible mom. Like, no, stick with it. Consistency. Yeah? So let me check in with myself. Those were some examples of healthy boundaries. I have other podcast episodes about healthy boundaries. But I wanted you, there was one more notion I wanted to do about the pleaser moms, because this is like a groundbreaking, earth-shaking moment for you. If you have built your entire identity around being the people pleaser, that you're the nice one, that you want to be the nicest out of all of your friends, out of all the family, you built your identity, self-worth and self-esteem and self-confidence around how nice you are to people, how you do everything for everybody. That's where your sense of self-worth is coming from. It's going to be tough for you to break that habit, in terms of like break that trauma habit, like overusing your strength. It is going to take some soul searching. Who am I underneath all of this? Who is the woman in me who can say no? Who can back off? Who can agree on some basic rules, basic routines that are healthy, that make perfect sense, that the kids will buy into, and that they will understand the natural consequences, and me just loving them, not through what I'm doing for them, but loving them through my energy, through my presence, and showing them my love. Not just talking about it, not just doing stuff, hoping that like it's clear I love you because I'm doing all these things for you. What are the ways how your kids want to be loved? What are other ways how you can show them how much you care, rather than doing everything for them? Okay. And the controller mom, it's similar. How can you, in advance, not when it's already the heat of the moment, it's the Friday night and everybody's exhausted, and then you suddenly, for the first time ever in their life, you require that they put their dirty laundry in the basket. Like, that's not going to go well. How can you, when is the best moment to start talking about some new rules, some new ways of living together as a team under one roof, so that we are living in a nice, pleasant home without too much of drama? What are some responsibilities that naturally, in age-appropriate way, are a no-brainer? What is it that they could have been already doing? When is it that you can talk about it with them? How can you explain that this is a great thing, that this is actually freedom? Your room, my dear child, is your room. I'm not going to enter. I'm not going to disturb your peace and your safe space. You take care of it. Which also means you're responsible for picking up the laundry, cleaning up the toys, doing like whatever needs to get done. If you need my help, not doing everything for you, but whenever you need help, go and ask for it. But I'm not getting there and doing things for you anymore. This is your space. So if you want to sleep in a room full of dirty clothes for 1 week, like stinky, sweaty, dirty stuff on the floor, be my guest. I'm just going to close the door so that I don't see it and it doesn't disturb me, because that's not how I want to live my life in this home. But if that's your jam, go for it. Who am I to tell you otherwise? Let them feel the consequences of their choices and give them the freedom. Do they want to clean their room once a week or once a month? Do they want to do it on Saturday or Monday morning? Like, who cares? This is their choice. You will respect it. You want them to respect your boundaries, start respecting theirs. Because then I'm making the loop back to the first mom I started talking about, the one who now, being fully grown up, she feels like she has no motivation, no willpower to do things that she knows are good for her. Well, this is why, because there was already always a police mom behind her back telling her and punishing her if she didn't do it. So she's used to having somebody with a whip behind her and like, whoop, ka-ching, ka-ching, go, do it. like a trained animal. So now that she's on her own, having the freedom to do actually anything she wants, she lacks that self-discipline, right? That's why it's so important for you to let your kids taste it already now and develop some habits that are self-initiated, that you're not the one with the whip forcing it at their back, but that they have the freedom to taste it fully. Where are the boundaries? How far can I go without cleaning my room before it starts feeling disgusting, right? And they might have their level of sensitivity in a different place than you do, and that's okay. You will respect that. Okay? Deal? Are you going to give it a try? Pick one thing. One easy thing. Don't pick the biggest battle, like the most difficult stuff. Pick something easy to start with so that you can test, and then be ready to stick with it. Consistency. You do not budge in. You do not go back to your word. If you tell them, I stop picking up your dirty laundry, like all that I will do, if I find it somewhere, I'm going to throw it on the floor of your room so that you take care of it. You do with it what you want. Like, you want to put it back in your closet? Like, do it. You want to throw it in the laundry basket? Do it, but it's yours. If I see it anywhere in the house, I'm going to throw it in your room because it's your stuff to take care of. And that's as far as I go. I will wash it for you. If it's in the basket, I'm going to put it in the wash. Fine, like no problem with that. But it's your responsibility. If that's the rule you agree on, you are not going to go back on your word. You're not going to be picking up the laundry from their room floor. You're not, never, ever again. You will let them drown in it if it needs to come that way. Get ready for it, huh? Breathe through it. You will get some panic attacks if you have like perfectionist, like cleaner tendencies, if that's also your childhood trauma because you were punished for being dirty. It's going to come up. It's going to make you feel very uncomfortable, but you will go through with it because you know that this is the only way how to help your children grow up in being responsible, respectful, kind human beings who can be self-motivated, who can have willpower to do what they feel is the most important thing in their lives. They will find the willpower to do that for themselves without having to have anybody at their back with a whip like ka-ching. Was it helpful? Are you still with me? You know, I'm telling you everything, all of this with compassion, right? I was there, I was the pleaser, and I was the policewoman. Everybody's stressing out with the time, and it's the time, and la 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 la. Stressing them, stressing myself. I stopped. And it feels so much easier. And yes, sometimes they forget. Yes, sometimes they run late. It's their choice, their consequences. I'm at peace, and they have learned. They became better. Yeah. So I hope this was helpful. I cannot wait to hear from you what you got out of this episode. And I'm sending you a big hug. It's going to be a ride. Get ready for it. But you can do it. You can. Bye, Supermom. If you like this episode, be sure to hit the subscribe button and click on the notification bell so that you'll be notified when the new episodes are out.